How in the world did you ever get involved in praying to demon spirits?
Well, when I came out of the Navy after World War II, I was looking for take up a trade in Montreal, Canada. And at that time, I ran across a fellow that had been on a particular ship with. He told me, "Hey, I got something fantastic to tell you." He said, "I am affiliated with people that speak with the spirits of the dead. How would you like to talk to the spirit of your dead mother?" And I was shocked. I was shocked. He said, "You wouldn't be afraid of talking to the spirit of your dead mother, would you?" Well, I said, "I'll tell you what, I would have to give that some thought, because it's something I never thought about before in my life." You know, it's written all over your face. You're afraid of going to a seance. But he says, "I know you. He said, you're going to come." And then he started telling me how brave I was when I was aboard ship, you know, different things. He says, "You're not the same man, you're changed. You're chicken." That's all I needed to hear. I said, "When do we go to a seance?" So one Saturday evening, we were in the place. It was the very first time. Very beautiful place. A medium was a lady. She had a gorgeous new home in Montreal. And there were about 20 invited guests there. She communicated with the spirits for different people there, and telling them what the spirit said. And then there was one lady that had been talking almost continually before the seance started, and she didn't believe in the dead appearing and all of this and all that. And she said, "Well, I would have to see my dead sister," she says, "to believe it." So while the seance was going, one man said, "I would like to talk to my friend that died 6 months ago, but I don't want him to appear. Just want to talk to him, because," he says, "I don't trust you talking to my friend for me." So the medium says, "Let me inquire of the spirit." "Yeah, the spirit will talk with you." And that big masculine voice was heard in the place. It says, "Hi, Frank. It's nice of you to ask for me to talk with you." And they had a little chat. And after it was over, Frank says, "This is the greatest thing on earth, to be able to talk with the spirits of the dead." Then the medium said, "We have a very special surprise tonight for you people. A spirit will manifest itself openly here in a few minutes. And it's like a big gust of wind hit the building and right through the wall." Now, the lights weren't terribly bright, but they were like living room lights. A couple of floor lamps and maybe some of these. And that translucent being seemed to come right out of the wall.
How did you feel right at that moment?
It's almost like my heart stopped a little bit. You know, very weird feeling. So it was a lady in a beautiful evening gown, Thorlin. And she said to Mary, "My dear sister, you are so wonderful to have asked for me." And Mary fainted and fell right off her chair on the floor. And a couple of guys jumped up and picked her up, and spirit gone. And that was the beginning of it.
That's how you got into it.
Yeah, that's the way I got into it. After a while, you see, there's something interesting about the human mind. You can adjust to an awful lot of stuff. You can adjust to a lot of things that would terrify you to begin with. After a while, they become common and ordinary.
So you mean contact with the supernatural can become commonplace and ordinary and doesn't bother anybody?
Yeah.
In other words, the more that you do it, you're not uncomfortable.
That's right.
It's just not an uneasy feeling.
Yeah.
So how did you feel about it?
Then I got into a secret society that worshiped the spirits, you see.
Okay, now how is that different from the seance, Roger?
It happens that the seance are not involving in many ways. But when you get into a secret society of spirit worshippers, then, and especially when you're invited there by the direction of the higher-ups in the spirit world, you never get out of there alive. There was a very, very popular big band leader.
Jazz musician.
Band, yeah, very famous. And one night we went to one of these seances, and he was with his wife. Well, after we were seated, in entering there, the place was just full, packed tight. But there was a couple of tables against a wall that had a reservation sign on it. And the owner of the place recognized the band leader and came and said, "Good evening, and you gentlemen want a table. So you're one of the reserved people." So we sat there, and we had our favorite alcoholic beverages, and as we talked, the band leader says, "How long have you fellas been involved with sorcery?" And it shocked us a little bit. And I said, "Exactly what do you mean? What you people are doing, talking to the supposed spirits of the dead." He says, this is silly."
And this man had been at the seance with you.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And he's telling you that it's silly what you've just done.
So see, my wife, he says, goes to these seances because she gets comfort and she gets something good out of it, good feeling out of it. And she lives for what the spirits are going to see that the future is going to be like. To me, he says, "I can't bother with this stuff." He says, "I want power. I go right to the source of power." And he says, "How do you think that I became famous the way that I am?" And I said, "You must have had some good luck." Well, he says, "There's no such thing as good luck." He says, "There's either some power working for you somewhere, or you don't get ahead in this world. Not in my type of occupation." So it went from there. We got talking about spirit worship. He said the supposed spirits of the dead that you're talking with are demon spirits. You're fallen angels. You're beautiful beings.
Just set it out, just like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
It didn't make you uneasy when he said they were
Well,
just
it shocked you a little bit, something that you first hear mentioned to you. He said, "You guys have got a great future ahead of you. Because we've been told, the high priest of our society, secret society, has been told that the master has very special plans for you too."
Now, what did he mean by the master?
Satan. And we were interested to hear more about it. And he told us, he says, "Look, we worship spirits. We worship Lucifer and all his angels. They're just as beautiful as they did before they were cast out of heaven." He says, "There was a misunderstanding in the whole thing," he says, "among the inhabitants of the galaxies." And he says, "Our master was misunderstood. And God did not bear with him like he does with people that make mistakes today. So we're in a warfare, good against evil. And we happen to be the evil ones, but we're not that bad." He says, "I look at this business between the forces of good and evil." He says, "You believe in one person believes in God, and everyone believes in Lucifer. It's like politics."
So the great controversy is real. And you've
Oh, yeah.
heard someone talk about it that's on the other side.
And to these people, they are sold to the fact that Christ will not return to this planet with power and great glory. He's going to abdicate all claims to the planet, because the high priest once said that Christ will abdicate all claim to the planet because he knows that it is lawfully and rightfully Satan's. And at that time, he says, Lucifer, you mentioned Lucifer a lot of times, but they mention Satan also. He says, the master, usually they like to talk about the master will resurrect his people from the graves. He said, no, he said, listen, guys. He said, I like to have you, he says, meet some of our people. What about next week? Wednesday evening. Wednesday night came, he was there with his big Lincoln, step in, and we went to one of the most beautiful area of Montreal.
Your friend, George, took you and Roland to this mansion where people worshipped the demons.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like there? What kind of people were there?
Well, it was a big surprise for me, as I kind of made up in my mind an idea that they were going to be rough-looking characters. But as we entered the place, I was amazed to see that they were all very well dressed, well mannered, and that a lot of the people, as we were being introduced to people, were professionals, doctors, attorneys, a lot of business people. And see what they had a praise session to the gods, which is the spirit counselors, which are in charge of legions of spirits. He says, for those of you that are new, let me tell you that this is the most feasible way, he says, to please the spirits. Is to deride Christ and his people, and his church. It's a form of blasphemy. Such as you see today in the rock music world. You see the entertainers, they have these crosses. The ladies got earrings, crosses. The guys got cross. This is a form of blasphemy, a form of deriding Christ. You see. Spirits cause the people to do that, to find pleasure in wearing this type of emblem, which is the cross is the emblem of the crucifixion of Christ. Spirits had materialized, they photographed them, and then they had paintings made of them. And there was probably about maybe 100 of those around the place.
Sort of like a shrine.
Yeah, and underneath there was a little altar where you have incense and things that they use in their prayer sessions. Certain spirits felt that these people had power, and they had a lot of it.